Hello, I'm Michael, and I want to talk to you about NFTs. Well, first of all, a big thank you to Anna and to the organizers of this great festival for inviting me. Um, what I want to do in the next 45 minutes or so is to discuss a range of topics that some of you might have heard about, some of you might have strong opinions about, and some of you might have just question marks talking about NFTs, the metaverse, and Web3. These buzzwords have been flying around for the last year or so, and I want to dive into my personal story and um, talk about these in a way that maybe is new for most people because it's coming from a digital arts perspective. And this is exciting for me to share my perspective, and I'll be popping in for the Q&A after this talk, and I'm ready to answer your questions that might arise. So let's get started. Um, there will be links for this talk, so you can look at all the topics that I'm discussing in more depth, and also have a link to the artists that I'm showing. And this is under this short link, bit.ly 3u, it's an L, lowercase l, and an uppercase J, H, lowercase g, E, or the attached QR code. And this will be on the last slide as well, so you can just pause the video and follow that link, and you'll get a 3-page PDF with links to all the resources mentioned. So just briefly about myself, I have a mixed background coming from computer science and also from the art. I have a master's level degree in computer science, and more recently a PhD about my work in playful systems. That's also where I met Anna a couple of years ago in Plymouth, University of Plymouth in the UK. I've always been interested in the intersection of art and technology. So I've been working in theater, AI, games, VR, AR, XR. And since 12 months, I'm concerned with NFTs. My roles are varied. I've been designing games or playful systems, as I call it. I'm coding. Um, I'm writing. I'm collecting now. I'm officially an artist in Germany, and also curating a bit. I'm at the moment trying to set up a physical exhibition of NFTs here in Berlin, in Germany, and I have a bit of teaching experience in uh, some universities. And I also love to give workshops and talks and all this stuff, so I'm really looking forward to this. Um, a little bit about my methodology that I developed during my PhD. It's symbolized in this Möbius strip. It's like an infinite strip of paper that you get when you glue two pieces together and rotate them. And here, my methodology is summarized. If you write research in forms on one strip and practice in forms on the other strip, and then you glue them together, you get an infinite band that essentially says research informs practice and practice informs research. And this is how I work. So what to expect from this talk? You can expect a lot of first-hand experience. I would say, unfortunately, a lot of the information you find online does not have that first-hand experience, but people are sharing and rehashing things that they read on some blog or some YouTube video, and they have strong opinions. I'm always been a curious person, and I like to experiment with the stuff. Come back to that later. This entails that everything I say comes from a personal perspective to keep in mind. So it's my journey, my perspective, and I hope by sharing my perspective, I can trigger some discussion and also hear from your perspectives that might be completely different from mine. And this is exactly the way that I like to operate, having multiple perspectives and discussing. Also, I would say that I try to be as faithful to references and sources as possible. This comes with a PhD or with some academic work. So you will find, if you talk about controversial topics, for example, I always will provide resources that can be followed and looked after, and to not just share my opinion, but also some more solid, let's call it a better informed opinion. Now, the first question that always comes when I talk about NFTs is, what are NFTs? And in order to answer that, I will first switch me off for a second so we can focus a little bit more on what I'm going to show you, because I want to show you a couple of artworks and by this answer that question through example. So the first artwork comes from an artist called Iskra Velikova. She's original Bulgarian artist, and she is, I think she's based in Madrid right now. It's called Behind Curtains Summer Sunset. It's an example for kind of art that's called generative art, and I've chosen that example because a lot of the NFT artists that I know personally and that have been in this space since for a longer time, many of them already, but a big surge happened a year ago, come from the digital art background and generative art background, and Iskra is one of them. And they, because they already work in a digital medium, so for them it's quite natural to, to explore and to occupy a space that is new and that provides them with a possibility to resell their art, to offer their art in the art market, and also to have a proof of provenance for their artworks, and some other qualities that I'll be talking about a bit later, qualities of NFTs. So this is Iskra's work. Another example is from an artist called Kevin Abosch. Kevin Abosch is what we call an OG crypto artist. So he has been in this space for a longer time. Others, such as Ria Myers, they have been around for a while. And crypto artists always have looked at the phenomenon of the blockchain, which started in 2009, and use the blockchain as an artistic medium. So Kevin Abosch's work, which one example you can see here, is conceptual, and also a lot of his artworks are using the blockchain in a creative way. This artwork was minted, that means created as an NFT this year. It's quite new. And what you always see here on the artwork slides is the year of where the NFT was minted, and also the edition size. So in this case, we have 10 editions of the artwork, and it's part of a collection called the Tokyo Show. a bit of different aesthetics for those who come from video games and pixel art. This is an artist was the artist named Mumu the Stan. The artist is from Indonesia, and she has this wonderful technique of hand-drawn pixel art. So instead of using animation software to create the movements, Mumu is drawing every pixel in every frame by hand. And if I understand it correctly, it's some sort of meditative practice. It's completely different from the approach, to be efficient and use the most time-saving tool, time-saving technique for everything. Momo is, besides a wonderful artist, she's also a community builder. So she's building the community not only in Indonesia, but also she's a central figure in the worldwide community of artists that I will refer to a little bit later. And here's her Cat Bajin artwork in a 50 edition. Another community builder is a French artist. She's now based in Berlin, Diane Drubai. Diane has been working or is working with artists in multiple roles. She's also well known for been working in the museum space for a while, and now helping museums to understand this new digital revolution, as I would say. And Diane is also a fantastic artist. I love the expression of her digital artworks, in this case here called Ardens 5. I should mention that I think with the exception of one or two of these works that I'm showing, these are works that I've collected personally, so I have kind of personal relationship to the artists and also to the artworks, and I hope I can complete my collection. I think the an Ishkra piece is missing at the moment. Another artist was the artist named Elisabeth Sch. This example I've chosen to show you a little bit of the bandwidth of the NFT space. So this is a prepared photograph. There's a lot of photography in NFTs, and Elisabeth's work is for me also absolutely stunning. She uses photography and prepares the pictures digitally afterwards, or her technique is wonderful. She has a lot of work out there, and this is one of the artists that I recommend to every collector, beginning collector who would ask, what should I look at, that you can start a collection from works like this and build up from there. And it's a wonderful piece here. From the area of illustration, here's another artist, also Berlin-based, Marie Sun. Marie is one of the OG manga artists, female manga artists in Germany, and she, since many years, she has her own brands, Kinky Carrot and Rebel Berries, where she wants to empower all people of all kinds and all genders to embrace their sexuality and their expression, their identities. Marie is also a wonderful artist, and this piece that I'm showing here is a special edition. It's a piece that's only in one edition, and this is something that's interesting to discuss in the practical manner. Like, for example, edition sizes. Like, what's the difference between a one edition piece and, for example, a 500 edition piece? And this artwork was minted, created as an NFT in 2021. But Marie has a long history and like a huge body of work, and that is something that I also recommend to discover and explore. The next artist, Lulu Treble X, Lulu Treble X. She has multiple uh, accounts with different styles, but always very recognizable. As the artist that I'm showing today, she has a recognizable style. In this case, multiple styles. But this is an artwork that is done with the help of artificial intelligence, and that's something that you also will have heard probably if you are interested in that space before and from other speakers here, that AI has become a tool or a co-artist in many modern artists, contemporary artists, and AI is and computer art has surged like uh, and this has also been reflected in the NFT space. There's a lot of artwork with AI in part of the production, and this is a 50 edition piece. So the next artist is Thais Silver, a Brazilian artist. Thais art is consists of commentaries of cultural, political, and societal issues and topics. This is from a collection called Black Culture, and a wonderful piece of art that plays with the idea of Afrofuturism. You can see her style is like a collage style, colorful, and there's so much to discover in the picture. I always like to love to get lost in this playful and cheeky, sometimes very emotional and strong um, uh, yeah artworks, and that's also an artist which I can recommend to anyone who wants to start collecting and discover this new form of art in a digital way. Um, the next example is something different, and this is a music NFT. I'm gonna play a few seconds.
Yeah.
So this comes from ex-member of the band Linkin Park, Mike Shinoda. Mike has created what is called a PFP, or a profile picture. This is an NFT that has a high number of singular editions. So in this case, there are 5,000 of them, and each of them has a different picture that is combinatorically assembled from individual elements that are reassembled in a combinatorial way. And also here the music is assembled from different stems, and they are combined, so you can have a few of these and play them like back to back. And this is what Mike Shinoda calls a generative mixtape. So it's a new form of distribution and also creativity, how to work with music. And as many of you or all of you who are in the music industry might know, that many musicians are not happy, and it's absolutely not sustainable, their current model of revenues. When your song is streamed from a streaming platform a few 100,000 of times, or even millions of times, and then you get a few pennies, that's not sustainable for musicians. So I would say every musician I've talked to is doing an NFT project, or already wants to do, or is curious about an NFT project. There are many platforms and projects popping up right now. The same with visual arts, by the way. If you look around in the fine art field, in the auction houses, Sotheby's, Christie's, many of you have heard of that probably like the big sales and all this stuff, but also smaller galleries here in Berlin, in other cities, in Lisbon. They are popping up, showing NFT art, and so music and fine art is absolutely, yeah, exploding in the field. Other areas are a bit behind, or will come later, or will do it in a different way. But for these artists that like Mike Shinoda, that's an interesting and fresh way to experiment and express themselves with their art, in their art. So I want to come back to, after we have had a few examples. I want to come back to um, my personal story a little bit, and what I'm doing in NFTs. So this is a short timeline from March 2021 to April 2022. In March, I was listening to some of my artist friends, digital artist friends, who had been talking about the blockchain and controversial issues such as energy use for quite some time. There have been online discussions about that, and these artists were very environmental conscious, and they had big problems with the existing solutions at that time. So they were looking for alternative ways, and found it in so-called proof of stake blockchains. And at the same time, a young hacker, coder, artist called Rafael Lima in Brazil had built a platform called Hic Nunc. Hic Nunc was started officially in 1st of March 2021, and then literally exploded when digital artists flocked to that platform. And at that time, I had my whole Twitter feed was full of NFTs, NFTs, NFTs. And to be honest, I muted the term for a month or so, because everyone was suddenly talking about NFTs, and I was like, what is happening here? I don't want to hear that. And then I got a little bit curious. As I said, I'm a curious person, and I like to experiment myself when I'm exposed to new stuff. So I found Hic Nunc. I minted my first NFT, my own first NFT, in April 2021. And since then, I've been on part of the community that, as you can see on the right side of this timeline, has been evolving into different platforms: Object.com, Versum, HicAF, 8BDO, and above all, the community of Hic Nunc has kind of created their own identity called Teia. Teia stands for spider web, or web in Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese, and they have been the community is expanding, and is carrying on. Also carries the spirit of Hic Nunc. That is an artist-based approach. That, for example, in terms of the platform fees, when you collect an NFT, Hic Nunc from the beginning has taken 2.5% platform fee. Teia currently takes 0%. This is certainly a difference from other more commercial or venture-backed endeavors. So the community is about artists and art, and not so much about economy. But of course, it's also about economy, because artists need to have a living, and NFTs on these platforms enable artists worldwide to have a living. These 2.5% of fees also come with a blockchain fees of a few cents, like when you mint an NFT. When you collect an NFT, a few cents go to the blockchain, to the upkeep of the blockchain. This is also a difference to other chains, that take a lot more and make it really prohibitive for many artists to participate. So here, the blockchain that I'm talking about is Tezos. So these platforms are all on the Tezos blockchain. And what you also can see here is on the lower right a couple of examples for the PFPs that I mentioned. So these quite successful collectible pieces that come in a large number of individual assembled pieces. The first well-known one on Hic et Nunc was Tezards from a artist in the UK. Neons is another one, and Dogami I will mention a little bit later. Still the question, what is an NFT? I tried to put it in a sentence. What an NFT does is it provides a publicly verifiable certificate of ownership. At the moment, mostly of a digital asset. That means the NFT is a piece of code on the blockchain. The blockchain is a decentralized public ledger that is amended continuously with new blocks. And the NFTs reside in these blocks, little pieces of code that point to digital files. And the links to the file, ideally, the files themselves are also stored in a decentralized way. That means they are not stored on one server of one NFT platform, because in that case, if the platform goes down or has to shut down, the art would be lost because the links wouldn't show up anymore. In the good cases, like where it's implemented correctly, also the artwork itself is on a distributed, decentralized system such as IPFS. And in this case, even if a platform vanishes, the NFTs live on, and you can still have access to them. You can still trade them as if nothing had happened. You just go to another front-end platform, or you can even build one yourself if you're have the skills of coding or learn to code. You can build your own NFT shop or NFT viewer or NFT experience. Most of the stuff is open source and is based on standards. So here to the right, if you're even more technically inclined and somebody asks you what is an NFT, then you can say this standard called FA2. You just read it and then you know what an NFT is, because here it's described in a technical detail. There are other standards on other blockchains, but this is here the standards for NFTs on Tezos. So from this, we could go into different directions, discussing the question of art versus collectibles. Clearly, not all NFTs are artworks. The ones I showed you are artworks, but there is a lot of more going into the direction of collectibles. Think about the albums that many people collected as children, or people who might have a little bit older. They might recall having collected stamps or other stuff, coins or colored beads. So in NFTs you find everything. You find all kinds of artworks on the one side and collectibles on the other, and there's a continuum between that. And that's the old discussion: what is art? What isn't art? I've spent a lot of time in that topic, but there will be definitely another talk. Another topic would be the practicalities of NFTs, like how do you structure your own artwork if you want to mint NFTs and offer them. Do you do a PFP, a profile picture project, where you create a large number of combinatorically assembled pieces, or Do you only offer one-ones, like one edition of each artwork? If you have a high number of artwork, that's probably a good idea. Or do you offer an edition size of 100 and make them more affordable? These are practical issues that we could discuss. Um, the next direction or another kind of avenue would be to go into discussing the different blockchains and different pros and cons and so on. But that will be I will mention that again in a moment. But before that, I want to go to the second topic or buzzwords of this talk, because limited time. And this is the metaverse or metaverses. So you can see there's already two question marks, like, is it one metaverse? Are there many metaverses? And I want to use the same methodology that I've done before and introduce that topic by examples. And I'll switch myself off again. And these examples will maybe come to a surprise, because I'm not talking about the big companies that everybody talks about when they talk about metaverses, but I'm going to talk about a fish tank. Before that, the term metaverse comes from Neil Stephenson's book Snow Crash. The metaverse is a fictional structure made out of code. One of the quotes here. People point to the opinion that metaverse is a dystopian concept. So why should we want to build it? But I would argue that these people haven't read the novel or haven't read it closely enough, because in Snow Crash, the metaverse isn't a dystopian construct, but the world, the whole world, the physical world, is completely dystopian. And the metaverse is a virtual world where hackers and other people like to hang out. So the world is dystopian, and some of us at this very moment might very much agree to that. Also, there are other sources for hope. But it's not the digital world that is bad, which some critics are quick to point out. It's the world that is bad, and the virtual world is taking all the good stuff and the bad stuff, and it's another medium. But it's neither the utopia where everything is wonderful, nor the dystopia where everything is horrible. It reflects our human condition, and it reflects our culture, politics, economies, everything you find in the metaverse. So my take on the metaverse is also an exploratory one. And some of these explorers, and I mentioned the fish tank, are starting with NFTs and with small little things from the bottom up. So you won't hear from me the big company names that throw around with the term metaverse, but these projects, for example, Bitfishy Shop, which is a collection of NFTs where you buy fish, collect fish, and then you go to the website and you connect your wallet, where then you enjoy your little fish tank with your NFTs. You can click on them, they swim around, you can it's very chill, and it's for me an example of a baby metaverse, a small world that has been created and that can be used for discovery, for interaction, and enjoyment. Another example is coming from a professor of architecture, Alex Grasser. He creates this metaverses within NFTs. So you collect an NFT and then you enter it, and it's an interactive world. It's made in a game engine, and you can meet other players, other people who have the same NFT, and you can construct these worlds inside of the NFT. So Um, Alex is for me one of the yeah original metaverse builders, or will be recognized as such, already recognized as such. But some of the these projects I really think will be the next. They will grow definitely, and I don't know Alex plans, but I'm certain he is yeah on onto something really really big. But here this is just it's an NFT. You can collect it on one of the platforms that, or some of the platforms that I mentioned before, and then you can build inside of this, and you can yeah, it's a multiplayer world. So um, one of the platforms that I already mentioned, Versum, also has building into the direction of a metaverse. So Versum currently is an art platform, a very art focused and artistically driven art platform that's very much beloved by the community. And Versum is expanding out into a metaverse. So they will build into experiences where probably in VR or AR. I don't even know because it's all done at the moment. There's a lot of stuff happening right now, and but I'm very curious what they built because they're great. It's a great project. They're great people, and yeah, I'll also somebody to watch. Tesland, as many of the projects that I've shown or I'm showing today, this is a single person project. So if you're familiar with places like Mozilla Hubs or similar places, this metaverse, little metaverse, is built by one person. It's called Tesland, Virtual World and NFT Marketplace. So you can go into this 3D environment and also collect NFTs or interact with them. I myself have also built some of this stuff, like experimented with Mozilla Hubs and A-Frame, and created some interactions for NFTs in virtual worlds. So it's kind of like these small mini metaverses that can become quite big or successful. Here's a project called Dogami. It's also on the Tezos blockchain. It's a petaverse, so a metaverse with dogs where you can collect dogs. Dogami is a larger project, come from a team with a financial background, and they're very successful and basically AAA or going into the direction of AAA project. That's also something I wanted to show here. And finally, Michael Beats, an Australian filmmaker and VR specialist. And Michael builds this incredibly wonderful metaverses where you can also go in and see and interact with art and collect art. So kind of like virtual galleries with playful interactions, with game mechanics, with puzzles that you have to solve. And this is already the fourth iteration of Here and Now. Michael is also up to something great. I'm pretty much sure. I've been following him since almost the beginning, and so this is for me the metaverse. Metaverses, they will be built from not from top down from the big corporations, but they're currently built from the next generation, from these people, from small teams, focused people that want to explore this space and build out from it. Um, and Now that I've showed you a couple of examples, I'm going to switch myself on again briefly. I want to come to a few opinions or a little bit to make sense of what we've seen so far. And I do it in form of a SWOT analysis. So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats in that space, in metaverse NFT space. Let me start with the strengths. For me, as I said, it's coming from a personal perspective. The strengths of the space is in the community. I've been very, very happy to be part of that Hic et Nunc Thea community since a year or so. Since September, we are meeting physically in Berlin, so there is not only a digital community but also physical, like meetups every month. We go to an art exhibition and then go to drinks, and that's been a wonderful, wonderful experience. Also, I've been in just come back from Lisbon, where there was a big conference, Non-Fungible Lisbon, 2,500 people from very, very different backgrounds, investors, artists, coders, hackers, people who are just interested in that space, curators, gallerists. Everyone was there, and it was a wonderful opportunity to meet some of my family that I've like interacted with for a year only on Discord and on Twitter, and there were some talks about Theia community and Versum and FX Hash and others, Object.com. Everyone was there. It was really, really nice. And also the sort of interactions that you have with artists and collectors. So here somebody collected actually a piece, an NFT that I created, which is not so common because my focus is not as an artist. I have a couple of pieces out there, but they're more conceptual and a bit trashy. And here somebody says they like my piece, and I'm super happy. And that's this sort of interactions that you get in this space, because on the blockchain everything is recorded, so you can see who collected your piece. You can contact them, and it's giving this personal communication, this personal community feelings, that is for me a cornerstone of the strengths of that space. I haven't met so many interesting people in a short time since the last 12 months. So moving on, weaknesses. There's clearly a lot of discussion, controversial debate about NFTs. I don't want to say that's all bullshit. Obviously, a lot of it is bullshit. People who are just rehashing some YouTube video that they've seen from someone who takes some blog post that they've seen, and everyone is like just talking about scams and crypto bros and all this kind of stuff. And I hate NFTs. Even academics stop researching and just push out their uninformed opinions about that stuff. It's a little bit annoying sometimes. So this is actually an NFT that I made, a satirical take on that. And I don't want to say that these phenomena that the people who are critical about that don't exist. There's truth to every single one of these criticisms. But the way they are handled, by saying everything is a scam, everything is bad, everything does that, this is obviously bullshit. And that's just, it's going away since some time, but there are some people who just have found their identity in talking about these things in a very derogatory manner and also harassing artists. And I just want to give an example with the energy consumption. It is totally true that some blockchains have a very high energy consumption. Other blockchains are built on completely different technical principles, so they don't have this energy consumption at all. So when you talk about an NFT, you talk about a vehicle, and when you're saying, oh, but this airplane consumes a lot of energy, you are right, but not the bicycle. So you cannot say vehicles burn the planet, because I'm on a bicycle. So what are you talking about? So it's easy to get informed a little bit better. Some of the resources that I mentioned, that I linked, are scientific papers about energy consumption and other issues. What is certainly true is that the space has been exploding in many ways. So like in upwards and downward swings. It's been a wild ride. The NFT market has had an incredible 2021 especially, and I'm need to finish up. Um, the main threat that I'm seeing is from overblown expectations or from wrong expectations in both directions, like saying everything is just not useful. That's wrong. It's already been proven useful for many artists, and I've showed you a couple of them, but there are uncountable number of artists that are now have an income that didn't have that before. Um, the problem I see is mainly in the public discussion, as with other topics, other controversial topics. There are the so-called maxis that are either like completely ignoring all the criticism and are completely like trying to sell stuff and trying to tell doubtful stories, but also on the negative side, that is denying the art and the utility of that space. There's always an underlying economy or economies on this, and this comes with the factor of risk. So when you enter that space, you're clearly risking something. You're risking your time. Some are risking their money, but it's your decision. You can decide if you want to put your life savings by buying a Bored Ape or some other NFTs that you've heard of, or if you want to support some artists and build a collection, like the artists that I've mentioned before, that goes with a few dollars. You can start. You need maybe three US dollars or $5 and you can start building a collection, because some of the art is just incredibly affordable. And the risk that arises for me about all these heated discussions and all this misinformation is that the space will be over-regulated, that at the moment some stuff that we see in the European Union is just simply overblown, in my opinion, but also under-regulated. That means that if some legislations say, oh, we want to attract all these crypto people, then we let them do what they want. That's also not good. So we need a proper regulation. We want to have consumer protection, but we also don't want to stifle the innovation and the new stuff that's coming out of this space. So that coming to the opportunities, clearly the art market is already over on the side of NFTs. It's decided. It has happened. Fine art and music and digital fashion, other stuff is already there. There are incredibly talented people, incredibly talented artists in that space. They are showing in the largest art exhibition, for example, the Art Basel Miami Beach. Last year had a big NFT focus. The people that I know that have a critical view are discussing it on different media in a civilized manner, the pros and cons, the problems, all this stuff. So the debate is there. It's a good debate. It's debates that we want to have, but it's not going away at any time. A brief mention of Web3, because it's in the title and I promised it, and I have one more slide, because it's another buzzword that you heard about. When people say they are in Web3, it's kind of like a overall term for NFTs, metaverse, but also our current World Wide Web. It becomes Web3 or is already in the direction of Web3. Which means that the web that is morphing into or evolving, it's constantly evolving, is based on open standards. such as WebXR or FA2, the token standard I mentioned, or a decentralized standard as such as Matrix, but it's becoming more decentralized. And by that's the buzzword number 4, decentralization. By that I mean that it's going away from the platform model that we have right now, the Facebooks, Instagrams, and others, where a platform like Instagram can just pull the complete liveliness of an artist by blocking their account without any discussion, which has happened to one of the artists that I mentioned in the talk. So decentralization, the people who are proposing that are hoping that this is a way to become more censorship resistant in that sense, like in this wide sense of censorship, like also economical censorship by a large platform. And this goes via blockchains, via IPFS, decentralized file system that I mentioned, and other autonomous nodes that we build. We build our own servers, we build our own nodes, we build our own platforms, and we don't need the large players for that. We don't need their permission, and this is quite liberating. So finally, for me, these are the topics that kind of tickle different parts of my brain at the same time, since I'm in this space. So it's about community, but also about individuality that I just mentioned. It's about technology, but also economy, super interesting. And it's about art. So all of this stuff is in the NFT Web3 metaverse space, and the people that you meet are going to reflect that, this diversity, and also a diversity of people that I encounter. And this is the motto that or the mindset that I'm using to explore that. You cannot understand a system until you try to change it. So if you enter that space, you see something you don't like, then change it. Go ahead and build your stuff. Most of it is open source. It's very available. The community is lovely. Everyone wants to help each other. You will find so many people who will explain things to you, help you. You will also have to be a bit cautious, because if you have money in that space, it's your money, it's your wallet. You have to make sure that you understand that there are clearly people who want to extract that without giving anything back. But for me, the experience that I have is one of being critical, being cautious, but also on the other hand to have the most wonderful community, and to have be honored to have met so many interesting people. And with that, I thank you. And as I said, you can reach me on Twitter. It's CRCDNG on my website. And the QR code contains the PDF and the short link for this talk. So thank you very much. And I'm happy to take questions in the Q&A. Thanks.